Why is it that sales is so important to early stage entrepreneurs?
You can drive all the traffic you want to a website. You can get a bunch of people giving you their emails and everything else, and you may have a great product and you have a great service, but if you don't know how to present it properly, if you don't know how to ask the right questions, that's really all sales is, right? It's taking the energy and enthusiasm that you have for your product or service and transferring it to somebody else. Once you do that, you do it successfully, they'll buy the product.
If I had to pick one thing, like the key to early success, at least early success in a business, getting some cash flow, and one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the most, I would say sales. Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Growth Pod. I'm Allan Draper. I'm your gracious host. Happy to be with you today. Thank you for spending some time with me. My endeavor is to help your businesses, help you get to the next level, whether that's just getting them started or to the next tier of top line revenue. Make sure to reach out to me, allandraper.com. Schedule a free appointment. I do 15-minute free sessions. I'm also an angel investor, as most of you know, and I'm looking for my next opportunity as we speak. Today, our guest is Kelly Shaw. Kelly has a passion for sales and salespeople, which so do I. He has been in sales for over 40 years and still has a thriving sales practice today. He's been in sales management and sales training, which has been his true passion in life for over 25 years. He's trained and managed in multiple industries, everything from men and women's clothing, automotive dealership, boat dealerships, nightclub, restaurant management, you name it. Kelly is also the author of Retirement, The Final Frontier, which is a unique and fun book based on Star Trek, of all things. This book is all about retirement planning, which can be extremely boring, but Kelly puts a fun spin on the subject to keep the readers engaged. So make sure to check that out. Welcome to the show, Kelly. Glad to have you.
Hey, thank you, Allan. It's my pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
So Kelly's reaching out to us. He's from the Phoenix area, which most of you know is where I reside most of the year. But he's currently in Mexico and enjoying the sunshine and beach down there. The Super Bowl and Waste Management Open are both taking place this weekend, which this episode will air well after that. But he's avoiding the crowds and smart man. So let's get into it. You know, a lot of our listeners they're wanting to start a company. They're wanting to start their business. They're not necessarily fulfilled with their 9-to-5 or their day job. And I think that sales is, if I had to pick one thing that is like the key to early success, at least early success in a business, getting some cash flow going, things like that. And one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the most, I would say sales. I have 17 or 18 business partners at this point, and almost all of them are incredible salespeople. Why is it that sales is so important to early stage entrepreneurs?
Well, here's the way I look at it. You know, you can drive all the traffic you want to a website. You can get a bunch of people, giving you their emails and everything else, and you may have a great product and you have a great service, but if you don't know how to present it properly, if you don't know how to ask the right questions, and you can't get your message across, and that's really all sales is, right? It's taking the energy and enthusiasm that you have for your product or service and transferring it to somebody else. Once you do that, you do it successfully, they'll buy the product. Now, I coach a lot of people and talk to a lot of people, and we'll call it the woo-woo space, right? And they want to serve, they want to help people, they want to add something to the world. They actually want to change the world one person at a time. But it's like, dude, if you don't close them, if they don't buy your product or service, you're just talking to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing them any favors. You're not doing yourself any favors. And the bottom line is, if you're really on a mission, then you've got to really make sure that you can present your product in a manner that makes it fun and easy for the customer to purchase. So I don't use the word sell as much as I do. I love the language of talking about make it easy for them to own your product.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't make it hard. Because you want to affect the bottom line. Number one thing affects the bottom line. You can't save yourself enough money to become wealthy and independent and travel and be location non-specific. You can only do that by creating some sort of wealth. Now, that could be a few $100,000, or that could be a few $1 million, whatever it is, whatever lifestyle you want to live. The only way to do that in any company is the fastest and easiest way to increase the bottom line is increase your sales.
I think that at least in the short term for startup businesses, and I alluded to this before, but nothing trumps the importance of sales. And by sales, I don't mean marketing. And by sales, I don't mean telling people about your product or your service or what you're doing. I mean, when I talk about sales, I mean bringing revenue into the business. And I think that I'm so hung up on it for two main reasons. One, I know that the main reason why businesses fail in the first couple of years is because of a lack of cash flow, which sales would solve that. And then second, the businesses that I've started, I've scaled like crazy with this emphasis on sales and salespeople. And I own with some partners, a door-to-door marketing firm. And I've just seen how sales solves a lot of problems for early entrepreneurs. Early businesses have all sorts of issues. They have issues with HR. They have issues with finding good help. They have issues with product or service development. They have issues with understanding their financials and their goals and all these things. And a lot of those problems are solved just through sales. And I think the reason why, Kelly, is because when you have sales, you're giving yourself the opportunity to practice. If you're not moving anything, then you don't need to practice hiring because you don't need those people, or you don't need to work with your financial statements because nothing's happening on them. You agree with that?
I totally agree with that. I know that, again, you can pick a lot of people when they start a business, the first thing they want to do is create this perfect website, the perfect marketing, the perfect this, the perfect that. But the one thing they don't work on is, okay, let's say all that works. How do you get revenue? Like, how do you get money coming in until you can figure out, the systems that work and where you need to tweak and reinvest your money? Because they may pick 3 or 4 avenues to invest money, right? And out of those 4, 2 of them may work extremely well. But when I talk to a lot of people that start up their own business, whether it's a carpet cleaning business or whether it's a plumbing business or whatever, it's like they don't really know their numbers on the back end. Like, they don't know exactly how many phone calls they're getting. They don't know what their true closing ratio is. They can't really figure out where they're missing the sale. Mm-hmm. And they realize that, if they can just get some deals closed and they can analyze every deal. Like, one of the things I learned many, many, many years ago, I think I learned this in the military, but when I was a salesperson and when I was a sales manager for, I wouldn't say the very first time, but later on, I would always go out with sales reps, like in the field. Like you said, you have a door-to-door sales company, right? So I kind of did that with annuity sales and insurance sales back in the day. And I learned 2 things. One was from Tony Robbins, and that is see the end result first and get in that state of mind. So I would pull up to a door. I would get myself all hyper, get my state up into a positive framework with a little bit of energy. And I would actually look at the front door and I would see myself walking out of that door, shaking hands with the people, even though I didn't know what they looked like, and saying, "Congratulations, you made a great decision." So in my mind, I preset the outcome, right? Now I knew what I was working towards. But then when I went in there, I knew it was showtime. And I had to, number one, I learned to ask a lot of questions. And that's one of the things that most salespeople really don't get. They think their job is to talk, pitch, pitch, pitch. And I just ask questions, bro. Like I just like when somebody says something, I just go like, "Oh, that's an interesting statement you said there, Allan." Like when you say you think it's expensive, exactly what do you mean by that? Or you say this. Well, why do you say that? And what does that mean to you? And like, so I number one, I dig deeper, but I think the big thing is that I really understand the value of what my product does for somebody. And if I don't close them, then they lose and I lose. My employees lose. And so when I come out of a sale, first thing I do when I was by myself, I would say, okay, what did I do good in that sales call? Well, I think I did this well. I think I did that well. What are some of the things that I want to make sure I do on the next call, but maybe improve a little bit more? And then what did I maybe not do correctly that I want to stay away from on my next call? And then what can I do to change that around? And I would do that when I would go door to door or house to house, not door to door, but house to house in the field selling financial products. It's like I'd come out with the rep and I'd say, so, go ahead and do me a favor, analyze your sale. Tell me the 3 or 4 things that you think you did right and you did really well. And they would tell me, and I would almost always agree and say, but I also think you did this well, this well, this well. What do you think you could have improved on? And they would normally tell me 1 or 2 things. And I would say, I agree, but I think you also could have improved upon this and this and this. So in the military, that's called the debrief, right? I mean, you go out into a mission, you come back, everybody wants to know how'd the mission go? You guys all came back alive, so it must have done okay. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Where can we improve next time? How was the communication? You go through all that. And most salespeople, most business owners just kind of live haphazardly. They look at themselves at the end of the month, they go, okay, well, we survived this month. We just need more leads. Well, do you really need more leads? Or do you need to get a heck of a lot better, become a lot more natural, make it easier for the client to buy, and make the experience a much easier, quicker experience where not only do they buy, but maybe they spend even more money than you hoped they would spend.
I've over the years, and something that surprised me about business was this a little bit of butting of heads between sales and service or product fulfillment, whatever. And, the guys or the folks on the service side think that, the sales guys promise too much or overpromise. And then sometimes the folks on the sales side think that the service or the product fulfillment side, that they underperform. Have you seen this in your career? Have you seen this kind of conflict? And if so, what's the solution to that? Because it seems like it's this never-ending conundrum.
Yeah. So this last week, my wife and I were invited to Hotel Del, if you know what that is, in San Diego. Hotel Del Coronado, probably one of the top 100 hotels in the world, I guess, to meet with all the big wigs from Blackstone, if you know who Blackstone is. Largest private equity firm in the world, and a company called HPA. So they bought HPA about a year or so ago for, I don't know, $6 billion. And they have some serious issues on the customer service side, right? But when you go through, you go through the complaints on the website, and this is always going to happen between sales and service, right? If the salespeople aren't communicating properly, that 95% of the complaints could have been handled by the salesperson if they actually gave a damn. So a lot of salespeople get really satisfied if they're good, right? Remember if you remember the book Good to Great,
Absolutely.
Being good is only that far away from being great. Like, do you want to be a good husband? You want to be a great husband? You want to be a good partner? You want to be a great partner? You just want to be a good dad? Or do you want to be looked back upon and said, man, what a great dad I had? And I got to tell you, it doesn't take that much more effort, right? But now part of that is on the salespeople to master their craft and to make sure that they don't overpromise. If anything, they should underpromise and overdeliver. That should be the mantra for every salesperson. Underpromise, overdeliver. Then when they get to service and things happen quicker, better, and easier, right? Who's the winner? Service, sales, most importantly, the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say we, I'm a salesperson, right? But we have a tendency to always talk about the best case scenario and how things should happen versus how things probably will happen. And you've always got to account for the unexpected. Because I don't know about you, I do not live in a perfect world. Like, if something can go wrong, like me I tried to log in 5 minutes early. What does my computer do? It wants to update first. Like, really, today of all days. And after I update my computer, I got 2 minutes to get on the call. And what does Zoom want to do? It wants to do a new update. So I'm like, oh, thank goodness I started 5 minutes early.
Exactly.
So I think, like, so one of the things I learned in automotive sales, I'll kind of tell you is, a lot of people look at automotive sales and say, oh, they're like used car salesmen, blah, 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 blah. But I will tell you that it's a great place to learn sales and how to build great rapport with customers. So when customers came in, I would never start pitching a car. I'd ask them a little bit about them, their family, how they're going to use their new car. Are they going to drive by themselves? Is it for work? Is it for pleasure? What are the things that are important? Well, what are they driving now? Did they buy that new? Did they buy that used? How many miles a year do they put on it? Is it going to be the same going forward? I might ask those kind of questions. And then I would say, hey, listen, I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to educate you and to help you find the right car. Hopefully we have one in our lot. We might not. But let me do this. Let me tell you a little bit about the dealership first. So if you were to buy today, we would put you on a team, right? And you would have a very specific service advisor. His name today, if you bought it, would be Tony. In fact, Tony's working today. Let me take you over and introduce you to Tony. I would take him to the service department. I'd introduce him to the service writer. How do service writers get paid? Kind of on commission, right? So first off, they're like, oh, they get to meet Tony. Tony gives them their card. I then take them to the service manager. I then take them to the parts manager. Then I take them to the office manager. Say, hi, this is Marge. Marge has been running our office. She runs a tight ship. Let me tell you, she doesn't like hiccups in the back end. It's my responsibility to make sure that all your paperwork is done correctly. So when it gets back here, everything is processed. And if you ever need anything, these are the people you're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year basis. Now, I might even introduce him to the sales manager and tell him, hey, you picked a great day. He's the easiest guy to work with. I haven't even looked at a car yet. And I've probably spent 15, 20 minutes showing them the dealership and what the experience is going to be after they purchase. I bought a $4,000 pot and pan set one time, not from a door-to-door salesperson, because I was at some health fair. And I saw this demonstration that was so over the top, like man, if I don't buy these pots and pans, I'm going to die from like all sorts of like problems with Teflon and nonstick and this and that. And then about a month later, I went, man, that was a really good salesperson because I don't even know how to use these doggone things. Look good. And I knew I made the right choice. And, you know, we finally figured out like how to use them, and they're awesome pots and pans. I don't know if they were worth $4,000, but if you would have asked me, would I spend $600 for a pot and pan set? I'd say, no, you're crazy. There ain't no pot and pan set I would spend that kind of money for. But I stepped up and bought those. Why? I met somebody who was passionate about their craft, and they demonstrated it to me where I went, wow, this is something I should get.
Yeah.
That's the value of sales, man.
Yeah. That's such an interesting point. And it reminds me of this. So they did a study with pharmaceutical sales, and it's been 5-6 years since I read it, but there was this top female, she was the top pharmaceutical sales rep for this company, female, male, didn't matter. And they tried to learn what she was doing so that they could, rinse and repeat with the other sales reps. And when it came down to it, they found out that she had a relative that this medication that she happened to be selling saved their life, right? And they found out that she really wasn't doing much different in terms of her habits. She was working hard, but not necessarily harder than everybody else. They pinpointed that the main difference was her belief in what she was selling. And that translated into her passion and affected these other areas. But so she didn't look at it as a sales job. She looked at it as, hey, I'm helping people. I need for my sake to get this drug into as many, hands as possible. And it was almost like a mission to her. And it wasn't about the dollars and cents. And she made incredible money, as you could imagine. But there was something higher at play. And it kind of, reminds me of this, pots and pans scenario. This person, it sounds like their demonstration was passionate and, inviting and all these things. Do you think that there has to be this kind of higher why behind what you're selling, this belief in the product, or can somebody just sell whatever they're given to sell?
So the answer is, I got to believe 100% in the product, or I can't do it. Like when I learned to sell Lincoln Mercuries back in the day, I knew every positive about a Cadillac and whatever BMW, whatever I was competing against. I knew more about those cars than the salespeople that were selling them. But I knew where they had maybe an edge over my product, and I knew how to position that edge. But most importantly, I knew my product inside and out. And I knew why it was far superior, especially for the dollar invested. And I could talk to the analytical. I could send them proof. I know the four styles of personality according to DISC, right? So I knew to either speed up or slow down, focus on the task, focus on the people. And I knew where to direct people if they were C personalities to get information, because they're not going to listen to me or believe me. Now, that being said, I've never, ever, ever sold a product I didn't own or didn't own first. That's number one. So a couple of years ago when I met my wife, I was getting ready to leave the country for 2 years, trying to figure out how to be a digital nomad and make money from my laptop. Found out I was really good at spending money, Allan, but not the greatest at making it. But, hey, I've turned that around. But my wife wanted me to join a real estate team. And I go, I'm not really interested. I just can't sell to sell. I got to have something unique, something that I can get behind. And then she was doing this thing on the side with this company called HPA. It was lease with right to purchase, right? So they get somebody qualified to rent, and then this company pays cash for the home. And then the tenant can buy that home anytime over the next 5 years for just a few percentage points over what HPA was in this home. That's why Blackstone bought them. They love their business model. And I went, well, wait a minute. I've purchased 12 homes in my life with lease with right to purchase. I go, man, if you'll let me take over that part of the company, I'll get my license tomorrow. but I'm going to blow you up, girl. You're going to be the number one agent in the country here real soon. And 3.5 years later, she is the number one agent for Blackstone and HPA in the country, and one of the top 3% of all agents in eXp Realty in the world. And that's all because of, number one, we bought our product first. We got a home through HPA, and in a year of renting that home, we made $170,000, which, then we went on TV to explain the process, who we are, what we do, why we do it. And then we have testimonials from people like, I've had people call me crying, saying we're the only ones that ever gave them a chance, because we just don't quit. I'm a former Marine, and when I jump on a task, like it's do or die, dude. Like I'm not quitting. You're not quitting. I'm not letting you quit. Don't be a wussy. We're going to see this through. I'm going to make it happen. And when it does happen, it'll be the best thing. We had a guy, we had to submit 22 homes before we got him one, but the 22nd home was really the right home, right? And we just worked for 6 months to get a gal into a home. And it's the perfect home. Her husband's disabled. She's really low income. Nobody would give her the time of day. But why do we have so much success? Well, because not only did we get a home through that business partner, we got a couple homes through some other business partners. Because I understand leverage. I'm a retired financial advisor and had a thriving practice. And I understand controlling large assets, but being able to take advantage of those if it's in my favor. So again, I owned it first. Everything I've ever been successful at selling, whether it's financial products, insurance, the only thing I've never owned that I was really successful at was a boat. I took a Bayliner boat store from being bankrupt in 1994 to by 1995, 1 year, number one in the world. And the only thing I know about a boat, the pointy end goes forward. And the only reason I know that is there's a picture on the front page of the San Diego Union Tribune around 1994 during the boat show where I was backing a boat out of the harbor backwards because I didn't know how to drive a damn boat. And AMF owned Bayliner at that time, and they were looking to hire me as their full-time trainer, but they wanted me to move to Indianapolis. And they said, how are you doing it? I go, well, after spending 2 weeks examining the sales process and all the stuff you guys do, I came to the realization boats are only about one thing: fun and family. I don't know what else a boat is for. Nobody could ever tell me it's for anything else but fun and family. You could say fun and friends. Friends are sometimes better than family. But the bottom line is, so what do we sell? We sold fun, family, and friendship and gatherings. We sold memories. Like, we didn't sell a boat. We sold memories. And so you alluded to it a minute ago, Allan, the big why, right? Like, what is the big why? If you don't have a big why, if it's just money, then you might be marginally successful. You'll never be truly successful. And you won't build raving fans who are going to send you clients. One thing I learned from being in the automotive industry is all your great reviews come from your highest paying clients. So I went through a project one time where I showed all the salespeople. Here's everybody's 5-star review. What can you tell me about the client? Oh, they all paid. They paid the money for the car. None of them were grinders. None of them wanted a super deal below cost and blah, 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 blah. I go, so people that understood the value, you sold the value, you delivered the product, you made them happy, gave you a 5-star review, they're sending you referrals, and they're coming back and buying a second car. The people that are grinders, the people that are looking for the best deal in the world, that are being unrealistic, you're spending 80% of your time with them instead of figuring out what did you do right on those people that gave you 5-star reviews, and duplicate that and forget about the rest. And so those are principles that I talk about. I talk about in my book. I have a book called Frothing at the Mouth. And by the way, anybody who's listening to your podcast gets a free ebook. It's, I don't know how many pages it is, but it's the first chapter of my book, and a section called Several Essential Selling principles most salespeople, get wrong. But one of the things I talk about is first thing you got to do is get your mindset right about sales and about money and about family and about the Lord and how the Lord wants you to make money, because he does want you to make money. He doesn't want you to be broke. And you got to get that right. And then you got to sell yourself in the product or service. Like, you got to put your blinders on, and you've got to know that product, if they don't buy it from you when they're in front of you, they're probably going to go down the road, buy an inferior product from an inferior person with inferior service, and they may never know how to utilize, and they'll probably get no follow-up and no service afterwards. So, you got to make that sale to yourself, like first and 100%. Foremost. And when you do that, you've got the enthusiasm. That gal who was selling the drugs, medical stuff, she made the greatest sale because it saved someone in her family's life. So when she's telling a story or she's selling the product, whether she brings that story up or not, it's coming through in everything she does.
Exactly.
And if you're desperate to make a sale, if you're all you're in there for is money, that's going to permeate through your skin like you ate 15 cloves of garlic the night before at an Italian restaurant. People are just going to sniff that out and go, "Dude, you're just in this for the money." Last thing you can ever think about in a sale is the money part. You got to give service. You've got to give value. You got to give first and receive later.
Yep, 100%. I think, I say frequently that, if you do things for the right reasons, the money's going to come. It may not, it may be a while, but it eventually will come. If, a lot of people say, hey, once I make X amount of dollars, I'm going to do this, or, once I have whatever success financially, then I'm going to change or whatever. And that doesn't always necessarily follow. So, well, Kelly, this has been a fantastic conversation. Where can people go to read or learn more about you and how you can help with sales processes and things like that?
Yeah, we have a website called kingdomsalesacademy.com. We don't market just to Christians, but we do have a very Christian-based approach to sales, which is all about serving first. If you actually look at all the great sales trainers, there's a lot of good sales trainers out there today. Almost all of them badmouth the old sales trainers. But I don't really know who they're badmouthing, because the stuff they badmouth, I've never really heard from a high-quality sales trainer. And whether you're talking about O.G. Mandino or Norman Vincent Peale or any of those guys, they were all Christians, and in all their books, they never talked about systems or techniques or methods. You know what they talked about, Allan? Serving the client, serving first, giving first, reaping the rewards later. If you have that mindset, then and only then will you get true happiness in sales, and the money will flow. But you got to learn to give first. So kingdomsalesacademy.com. I'll make sure my assistant, sends you a link. There's a free ebook. They just need their email address, I think, and their name. If they'd like to book a 15-minute free consultation with me, they can put their phone number in there. And I'd be glad to sit down with them for 15 minutes, analyze, kind of what they're doing, how they're doing it. I'm finding out I'm pretty good at writing scripts. I didn't really think I was, but I've helped a lot of people lately by giving them some simple, basic word tracks and telling them how to actually talk to people, how to use the body language a little bit, how to use their facial expressions, maybe to slow down, speed up a little bit, whatever. But hey, look, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve your audience. So whatever I can do, whether it's the ebook or, sit down with them for 15, 20 minutes one-on-one, hey, again, I'm here to serve. So kingdomsalesacademy.com.
Oh, okay. And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining us, Kelly. We appreciate all the great information about the sales process and how it can help entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, man.
If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a rating. And for daily inspiration and business tips, follow Allan on Instagram. Until next time, remember, we build the future one entrepreneur at a time.